collective gasp rippled through the crowd. This wasn't just anyone. It was him. Pharaoh Ragnar, the Zenith Dragon, one of the legendary 9 dragons themselves. "It's the Zenith Dragon," someone whispered in awe. "What's he doing here? He never makes public appearances." Pharaoh's imposing figure stood tall, his crimson cloak billowing in the wind. He held a parchment in one hand, its edges curling slightly under the weight of his grip. His sharp, red gleaming eyes scanned the crowd as he spoke. "Among the 87 examinees, 45 have passed," Pharaoh announced, his tone a mixture of pride and gravitas. "A respectable number of survivors. They call this generation the most talented yet, and I can see why." His gaze hardened, the crimson glow in his eyes intensifying. But one performance stood above the rest. The valedictorian score was particularly impressive. Theo Ragnar froze, his heartbeat thundering in his chest. Could he mean me? He wondered, his hands instinctively clenching. Around him, the crowd grew restless, eyes darting between each other. Pharaoh's tone shifted slightly, carrying a note of encouragement. "I'm sure you all know this, but passing the second stage means promotion, from apprentice swordsman to low-rank swordsman. You've earned the right to call yourselves proud swordsmen of Ragnar. Be proud of your accomplishments." In the crowd, Sybil and Remington exchanged smiles, their expressions reflecting relief and pride. Their relentless effort had finally borne fruit. Pharaoh glanced at the parchment and began reading the results. First place, Theo Ragnar, 1,121 points. A stunned silence gripped the crowd. All eyes turned to Theo, who stood rooted to the spot. Then the whispers began. "It's Theo again," someone exclaimed. "Over 1,000 points? How did he even pull that off?" Another asked, disbelief lacing their tone. "Wasn't he at 0 until the last minute? And is it true he defeated Axion?" Theo felt the weight of their words, the murmurs like an invisible force pressing against him. So much noise about that fight. He thought, his expression neutral but his mind simmering. Pharaoh's voice interrupted the chatter. Second place, Remington Narcio, 926 points. Third place, Erica Lank, 843 points. Fourth place, Ray Ragnar, 789 points. One by one, the rest of the results followed, the numbers gradually dropping. Pharaoh's tone remained unwavering as he called out each name until finally. 45th place, Isla Lehman, 28 points. Good work, all of you. The crowd exhaled collectively, relief and exhaustion settling over the participants. But just as the tension seemed to dissipate, Pharaoh's expression darkened. His narrowed eyes swept over the participants, and the atmosphere shifted. "However," he said, his voice cold and sharp, "the awakening ceremony is not yet over." The murmurs returned, this time laced with confusion. "There remains the final trial," Pharaoh continued, his tone heavy with foreboding. "The third stage. Only those who have obtained qualification bells may participate. If you succeeded, raise your hands now." The crowd erupted in hushed chaos. "Did you succeed?" one participant asked their neighbor. "No, I didn't get enough demon bells," another replied, dejected. Cutting through the noise, a single hand shot up. Remington Narcio stood tall, a confident grin plastered across his face. The crowd turned to him, some in admiration, others in envy. Erica Lank was next. Her hand rose with quiet determination, her piercing gaze scanning the crowd. Hulkus, standing nearby, looked on in shock. When did she get a bell? He wondered, his fists tightening. Then came Ray Ragnar. Her expression remained as cold as ice, but her raised hand spoke volumes. Her stoic demeanor didn't waver, but a flicker of something unreadable passed through her eyes. Finally, Theo Ragnar raised his hand, a calm smile breaking across his face. The crowd shifted its attention to him again, the murmurs intensifying. Ray glanced at Theo and, for the first time, allowed a small, almost imperceptible smile to form on her lips. He made it. Thinking about the bells, Theo inwardly mused, The hidden piece of the second stage is the elemental attribute breathing technique. He furrowed his brow as the memories of his past life surfaced. You have to master the technique by gathering passages randomly spread out between multiple demon bells. They're called hidden pieces for a reason. Not only are they difficult to collect, but they're also nearly impossible to comprehend without guidance. He glanced at the faint glow of the bell hanging from his belt and thought, only those who successfully master this technique can imbue the elemental attribute to their mana and earn the right to participate in the third stage. Theo clenched his fists. In my past life, I couldn't properly comprehend the passages, but this time is different. A faint smirk crept onto his lips. With my hatchling synchro skill, I was able to unlock the visuals hidden within the passages. When combined, they became crystal clear, something I never could have done before. As the crowd watched Pharaoh announce the third stage qualifiers, Theo noticed the atmosphere around him shift. Pharaoh's cheerful tone as he addressed the group masked the subtle weight of his words. Simply having contenders is a boon, but to have 4 of you this time is impressive, Pharaoh remarked, his gaze flickering between the raised hands. Theo caught sight of Ray and Remington. Their hands were raised high, signaling their success. He inwardly chuckled. In my past life, Ray and Remington failed to obtain elemental breathing. This must be the butterfly effect of my actions this time around. Pharaoh turned toward Theo and gestured. Let us begin with you, Theo Ragnar. Step forward and demonstrate what you have obtained. Theo smiled faintly, confidence radiating from his posture. He took a deep breath and stepped into the circle, all eyes on him. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Is he really going first? Do you think he has the elemental technique? That's Theo Ragnar we're talking about. Of course he does. As Theo stepped forward, a blue aura began to swirl around him. It was subtle at first, but then sparks began to flicker and crackle. What I obtained is... Theo started, his voice calm yet commanding. The sparks grew brighter, merging with the blue aura until the air around him buzzed with static. Therma, thunder. The moment the word left his lips, the aura surged outward, sparks evolving into streaks of lightning that danced around his body. The ground trembled slightly beneath his feet as the system notification appeared before him. Stage 1 of elemental breathing, infusion achieved. The trainees gasped. Even Sybil, who rarely showed emotion, muttered, so it's true. He's already reached the infusion stage. Theo, however, wasn't done. He focused harder, channeling his mana through the technique he had mastered. His breathing steadied as he muttered. First, infuse the mana with the Therma attribute. Then manifest it. The blue aura grew denser, and arcs of electricity began leaping from his body. Theo raised his hand, and a sphere of pure lightning formed in his palm, crackling and sparking wildly. The notification appeared once more. Stage 2 of elemental breathing manifestation achieved. Gasps turned to outright astonishment. He's already at the second stage? That's impossible for a trainee. This is beyond anything we've seen before. Even Remington, watching from the sidelines, couldn't help but smirk. That's Theo for you. Always raising the bar. Theo wasn't finished yet. His dragon heart thumped in his chest, glowing faintly blue. He could feel its energy coursing through him, pushing him further. With a sharp inhale, he tightened his focus, and the sphere of lightning in his palm morphed into a concentrated bolt that hummed with immense power. The system chimed once more. Stage 3 of elemental breathing, control achieved. The sheer intensity of Theo's control caused the ground beneath him to crack slightly. Pharaoh's usually composed demeanor faltered as his eyes widened in shock. To think you've already reached control. That's a level even seasoned swordsmen struggle to master. Theo Ragnar, you've truly exceeded all expectations. Let us move on to the next contender. Before Pharaoh could finish his sentence, something extraordinary began to unfold. His eyes narrowed, then widened in surprise as he watched Theo step forward, his aura intensifying once more. The participants gasped, unsure of what Theo intended to do next. Theo gritted his teeth, his dragon heart pulsating with raw energy. "I'm not stopping here," he muttered, his voice filled with resolve. The ground beneath him cracked as more energy began to radiate from his body. Sparks evolved into arcs of lightning, swirling and growing larger as if Theo himself had become a living storm. The thunder around him crackled with a deafening roar, almost mimicking the wrath of a god. As the swirling storm reached its peak, Theo's eyes gleamed red with an intensity that silenced the field. He reached for his sword, the blade humming as if it too had been infused with the power of the heavens. Without hesitation, he swung his sword with precise ferocity. Thunder breathing, Thunder Dragon. The energy surged forward, taking shape as an enormous dragon made entirely of lightning. It roared as it hurtled toward its target, the Zenith Dragon himself, Pharaoh Ragnar. The system notification popped up in front of Theo. Stage 4 of elemental breathing expansion achieved. Gasps filled the air. The trainees were frozen in place, their jaws dropping as they witnessed Theo, a mere participant, attacking one of the legendary 9 dragons. Is he insane? He's challenging the Zenith Dragon? No. He's testing his limits, another murmured in awe. Pharaoh, however, didn't flinch. Standing firm, he watched the massive Thunder Dragon approach with an expression of calm excitement. A smile tugged at the corner of his lips, and his voice, both cheerful and commanding, cut through the chaos. How fun. To think you've already reached the expansion stage, Theo Ragnar. Raising his hand, Pharaoh summoned droplets of water that floated around him, shimmering like liquid diamonds. With a flick of his wrist, the droplets converged, forming a sharp, concentrated current. Water current breathing, water jet cutter. The stream of water shot forward, slicing cleanly through Theo's Thunder Dragon. The massive lightning construct dissipated instantly, reduced to harmless sparks scattering in the air. The crowd stared in disbelief. He neutralized it without breaking a sweat, one trainee whispered, their voice barely audible over the lingering hum of energy. Pharaoh chuckled heartily, his voice filled with genuine admiration. You have earned the right to test me, Theo Ragnar. Well done. Theo smiled back, unfazed by the neutralization of his attack. As expected of the Zenith Dragon, he thought. He's not just powerful, he's untouchable. Pharaoh continued, his tone celebratory. For your impressive display, I'll reward you with an additional 1,000 points. The notification appeared again. Theo Ragnar, 2,121 points. The field erupted in murmurs. 2,000 points. He's already set a commanding lead. That's a record-breaking score. Even Remington couldn't help but be mesmerized. He muttered, that rivals the record set by young Master Throkel. Theo Ragnar is something else. Pharaoh, still smiling, turned to the remaining contenders. Now then, you three, show me what you've obtained. Remington stepped forward confidently. With a calm demeanor, he demonstrated his mastery of water breathing, reaching the control stage. Pharaoh nodded in approval, awarding him 500 points. Ray Ragnar followed, her icy aura chilling the air around her. She displayed her elemental breathing of ice, achieving the manifestation stage. For her effort, she earned 300 points. Erica Lank smirked as she stepped up, flames licking at her hands. She unleashed her elemental breathing of fire, also reaching the manifestation stage, earning the same 300 points. Pharaoh clapped his hands together, his excitement palpable. What a bountiful generation! Normally, scoring 1,000 points is enough to make one valedictorian, but this time we have 4 examinees at a valedictorian level. Truly extraordinary. With the results finalized, Pharaoh addressed the group. Good work, everyone. With the exception of the 3rd stage qualifiers, the rest of you may now return home and prepare for the nomination ceremony in a week. As the majority of the participants began to leave, Hulkus turned back, glancing at Theo and the others standing before Pharaoh. Something about the air around them felt different, charged, ominous. Pharaoh narrowed his eyes, his cheerful expression fading. His tone turned serious. Now then, just as he spoke, an overwhelming aura began radiating from the mountain behind him. The pressure was suffocating, forcing even the strongest trainees to their knees. What is this?" Remington stammered, beads of sweat forming on his brow. Erica and Ray stood frozen, their faces pale as they struggled to comprehend the oppressive force. Theo's eyes widened as realization struck. His dragon heart thumped violently in his chest. This aura, no, it can't be. Emerging from the mountain was a massive shadow, a creature whose presence silenced everything. A dragon. Its scales shimmered with an eerie glow, and its piercing eyes seemed to see through the souls of those before it. Theo gritted his teeth, his body trembling not from fear, but from recognition. Why am I sensing Lodbrok's energy? The third stage was the ultimate gauntlet, a meeting with the clan head himself. It wasn't just a casual chat over tea. This was an exam where anything could happen, and survival depended on whether you could impress the most powerful figure in the clan. Success meant one thing: nomination to the clan head's manor, an honor reserved for the elite few. Every major candidate who'd served in the manor before was practically a legend in the making, their name etched into the annals of the clan. For the 4 participants standing at the threshold, this wasn't just a test. It was a chance to shape their destiny. The scene shifts to Theo, his mind racing like a high-speed algorithm, where an oppressive, otherworldly aura loomed like a storm cloud ready to strike. He narrowed his eyes and thought, so, the one waiting for us at the top is the clan head. But why does this energy feel like Lodbrok's? Then it hit him like a lightning bolt, his pupils dilating in realization. Wait, could it be? Did the clan head take Lodbrok's heart for himself? The very thought made his pulse quicken, his instincts screaming that something far bigger was at play. The Zenith Dragon, towering and regal, watched the 4 with a sinister grin. His voice reverberated through the chamber like thunder. Now then, break through the dragon fear and greet the clan head. Easier said than done. The dragon fear wasn't just a metaphor. It was a crushing force that pinned them down like gravity on steroids. Sweat trickled down their foreheads as each of the 4 struggled to even take a step forward. Erica, known for her fiery temper, gritted her teeth and growled, "Damn it! How are we supposed to make it to the top like this?" Theo glanced at her calmly, his expression unshaken despite the immense pressure. "Forget brute force," he said coolly. "You need to match the mana's wavelength." Erica's frustration boiled over. "What the hell does that even mean, genius?" she snapped, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Before Theo could respond, Remington, ever the intellectual, chimed in, his tone measured. "He means creating an anti-phase wave to counteract and neutralize the pressure." Theo shot him a surprised glance. "Correct. Remy, you never disappoint." Remington forced a smile despite the weight pressing down on him. "But that's easier said than done, young master." Theo's eyes sharpened, his voice steady. "It's how they weed people out. If you can't control your magic power properly, you have no right to meet the clan head." Remington nodded. "Fair point." Meanwhile, Erica threw up her hands, utterly exasperated. "Antiphase? Interference? Are you two reciting a physics textbook? Speak human." Remington chuckled softly and tried to simplify. "Think of it this way, magic power is like sound waves. The clan head's aura is a frequency, and we need to create an opposite wave to cancel it out." The explanation only seemed to confuse Erica further. "So, you're saying I just have to make magic power that's the opposite of this pressure?" Remington sighed. "Close enough." Erica glared at him. "Why didn't you just say that from the start, you stupid overachiever?" Ray, quiet until now, absorbed the concept with a calm determination. Her lips curled into a faint smile as she thought to herself, "So that's the trick. I see now." Erica, meanwhile, jabbed a finger at Remington. "By the way, are you seriously 17? You sound like some retired professor. No wonder you're a goody two-shoes." Before Remington could respond, a sudden surge of blue light drew everyone's attention. Theo stood at the center, his aura flaring like a supernova. The oppressive pressure around him evaporated, his magic cutting through the dragon fear like a hot knife through butter. His aura grew brighter, more intense, until it was blinding. The others stared in shock. "Erica?" her jaw practically hitting the floor, blurted, "Are you freaking done already?" Theo glanced back at them, his eyes blazing with confidence. "It's only natural for the next clan head, don't you think?" The sheer audacity of his statement left everyone stunned, the weight of his words hanging in the air. Without waiting for a response, Theo turned on his heel and charged up, his footsteps echoing with purpose. "I'll be going ahead." Then, his voice carried a calm certainty, as if the outcome was already decided. Behind him, the remaining participants called out, their voices tinged with frustration and desperation. But Theo didn't look back. He was already focused on what lay ahead. The Zenith Dragon watched the remaining 3 participants with an amused glint in its eyes. Its booming voice took on an unusually cheerful tone. "You'd better not dilly-dally, little ones. Points are based on the order of arrival, after all." This revelation hit like a grenade. The 3 remaining candidates exchanged startled glances, the stakes rising yet again. "Seriously?" Erica exclaimed, her irritation morphing into determination. Without wasting another second, all 3 pushed their limits, shattering the oppressive aura and bolting toward the next stage. As the sound of their hurried footsteps faded, the Zenith Dragon stood alone, laughing softly. "Oh my! To think I'd start craving a disciple in my old age. What a time to be alive." The scene shifted to the Camellia Palace, its ornate halls bustling with activity. The camera panned to Kirsten, her voice echoing as she called out, "My precious daughter, where are you hiding?" The palace staff exchanged knowing looks as they trailed behind her. One maid whispered, "Oh no, the demon craftsman is at it again." The other maid chuckled. Ever since young Master Theo became a rising star, she's been impossible to contain. Inside one of the palace's sunlit rooms, Cecilia sat in conversation with a guest. The atmosphere was calm, until the door burst open with a loud bang. Kirsten strode in, grinning ear to ear. "So here you are, my dear Cecilia." Cecilia turned to her mother, her tone sharp but composed. "Mother, please maintain decorum within the palace grounds." But Kirsten was too elated to care. She enveloped Cecilia in an enthusiastic hug. "Decorum? Who cares about decorum? I'm about to become obscenely wealthy." Cecilia raised an eyebrow. "Weren't you already wealthy?" Kirsten leaned back, her eyes sparkling. "Yes, but not obscenely wealthy. Ever since Theo became a star, my workshop has been swamped with orders. We're finally mainstream. Weapons, armor. You name it, they want it." A soft smile spread across Cecilia's face as she watched her mother's excitement. She thought to herself, "I always believed Theo would excel. But now that I'm seeing him in action, I can't help but worry." Her expression darkened, her hands clenching into fists. What if he gets injured? What if the pressure becomes too much? And all I can do is sit here, useless. As Cecilia wrestled with her thoughts, Kirsten continued rambling, practically vibrating with energy. "The days of only crafting weapons are over. I'm venturing into accessories now. Bracelets, necklaces, maybe even a jewelry line." Imagine that. Kirsten's declaration suddenly sparked something in Cecilia. Her gaze sharpened as an idea began to form. "Mother, listen. Have you ever made a prosthetic arm?" The scene transitioned to a place far removed from the bustling palace. A quiet, windswept field where swords lay half buried in the earth, their gleaming blades catching the sunlight. Kyle Ragnar, the clan head, sat amidst the graveyard of swords, his deep laughter echoing through the serene space. "The next clan head," he says. "Bold, Theo. I like that." Perched on his shoulder was a crow, its beady eyes glinting with intelligence as it cawed softly. The bird had been keeping tabs on Theo's progress, delivering its report to Kyle. Kyle's grin widened as he listened. "I know what you're worried about, but even a parent has no right to stand in the way of their child's dreams." He reached for the hilt of his own blade, its edge worn yet unyielding. The swords around him seemed to whisper of past battles and ambitions. "It's impossible to stop the fire of youth," he mused. "Even we were like that in our heyday, weren't we?" He gestured to the countless swords around him. This place is proof of it, the graveyard of swords. Each one represents a dream, a challenge, a legacy. The crow let out a sharp, displeased chirp, as if questioning Kyle's confidence. Kyle chuckled but didn't waver. I told you, don't worry. All I want is the prosperity of Ragnar. Anything that stands in the way of that, well, I'll deal with it. The crow cocked its head, still unconvinced. Kyle's expression shifted, his grin replaced by a hard, unyielding gaze. Even if my damn son is a regressor, the words hung in the air like a thunderclap, a revelation laced with layers of intrigue and foreboding. The clan head, Kyle Ragnar, sat poised, his hand gripping the hilt of his sword with a quiet authority. A sly grin curled across his face as he watched Theo approach. With a broad smile, he greeted, "You're finally here, my son," but the warmth in his tone barely lingered before vanishing. In an instant, Kyle's demeanor shifted like the flip of a coin. His eyes narrowed, his expression hardened, and the air around him grew heavy with seriousness as he locked eyes with Theo. Theo, drenched in sweat and still catching his breath, felt the weight of the moment. He had fought his way through 3 formidable opponents, earning the right to stand before his father. The treacherous ascent to reach this place had been grueling, an uphill battle compounded by the suffocating presence of dragon fear and the immense pressure radiating from Kyle's aura. As Theo met Kyle's piercing gaze, a chill ran down his spine. The sheer intensity of his father's presence pressed down on him like an invisible force. Struggling to steady his breath, Theo thought to himself, for hours. It took me 4 exhausting hours to climb what should have taken 1. The pressure father exerts is suffocating, crushing. Kyle's voice cut through the tension like the blade of a honed sword. Gesturing to the countless swords buried in the ground around them, he asked, "My son, do you know what this place is?" Theo, startled, glanced around, his eyes scanning the jagged steel protruding from the earth. The stark sight of countless blades struck a chord within him. Straightening his posture, he replied in a steady, firm tone, "This is the graveyard of broken swords. I've heard that these swords belonged to those you've defeated, my lord." Kyle's expression darkened as he narrowed his eyes, then closed them briefly, his face etched with solemnity. With a weighty tone, he said, "Correct. This is the burden of the clan head's position, a seat of power that invites endless threats and challenges. It is a position where you stand alone, unable to truly rely on anyone." His grip on the hilt tightened as he continued, his voice like steel being forged. "This position obeys only one rule, the rule of strength. To hold it, you must rise above everyone else with nothing but your own power." Then, with a sudden flash, Kyle opened his eyes, now glowing a fierce red. He leaned forward slightly, his gaze sharper than the swords around him. "Do you believe you have the right to claim such a position?" Theo felt the question cut through him, but he held his ground. Meeting his father's fiery gaze with confidence, he replied, "Yes, I do." Kyle's eyes sharpened further, a storm brewing behind them. "Do not take this lightly," he warned, his voice carrying a chilling weight. "To stand here, I have slain thousands, countless souls who cursed my name. Can you still answer the same, knowing their resentment?" As the words left Kyle's mouth, the air grew cold and heavy. Theo's breath hitched as he began to hear the voices emanating from the swords around him. Agonized cries and furious screams filled the air. One voice, dripping with hatred, bellowed, "Kyle, I curse thee for eternity." Another, trembling with rage, snarled, "How dare you commit such atrocities?" And yet another, seething with fury, hissed, "I will tear you apart." Theo stood still, unyielding amid the cacophony of tortured souls. His expression remained resolute as he declared firmly, "My resolve remains unchanged." Kyle studied his son intently, his gaze like a blade dissecting Theo's conviction. "And why is that?" he asked, his voice edged with challenge. Theo's mind raced, but outwardly he remained composed. "Because it is my mission," he thought to himself, "to avenge my past life, to claim the clan head's title, and to end this cursed battle for the throne once and for all. For that, I will overcome anything in my way. Still, Theo knew his father